Hey folks, hi. Thanks for joining this session on threat hunting in dark side of internet, or we call it as Darknet. I would first like to thank all the organizers for providing me this platform to share this knowledge with you guys. And considering this unprecedented time we are facing, I hope you all are doing safe. So today's topic would revolve around two important points when we talk about cybersecurity. One, threat hunting, and the other one is called Darknet, which is also often known as dark side of the internet. The main aim of this session would not to talk about the bad part of the darknet, but to focus on the good part, wherein we can explore the opportunities of doing some threat hunting or some kind of new threat intelligence which can help organizations build their cyber programs more maturely. So I understand that it's a pre-recorded webinar kind of arrangement, so you may not be able to ask a lot of queries, which I would personally love to answer a lot. But yeah, I'll leave my coordinates after the end of this presentation, so that in case you have some doubts, feel free to reach out to me. So without taking a lot of time, let's start. So a brief background about me. From my side, I am an engineer by qualification, consultant for my bread and butter. Can say a hacker from my heart, although I still consider myself as an enthusiast, and then I do research quite often. So yes, currently on my credentials, I've been working as manager in cyber risk advisory at Deloitte, and I am based out of Singapore. I have been actively writing and reviewing a lot of books and white papers and research papers too. One of the passion and the core areas of working has been penetration testing and red teaming, and I've been working a lot in this area from last many years. And talking about the speaking opportunities, I do like to speak a lot, and one of the reason is here I'm with you guys, and I've been speaking around globally in a lot of national international conferences on various topics revolving around cybersecurity. And this part of knowledge sharing is something which keep me motivated and interested with the new technologies and research in this domain. And then I am a founder of a non-profit organization called Youth Coast Foundation, which works for some social activities, CSR activities in India. And I have been traveling around the world working for different organizations, clients, and companies. So that's my coordinates for you guys in case you have any doubts which are left unanswered during the session. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you out. So this would be the agendas for today's session. First, we'll see about what's threat hunting. Then we'll go around the threats, what kind of threats you should expect when we talk about the real world. Then we'll demystify something about the darknet and the clearnet, what are different things. We'll look at some of the darknet markets which are areas of interest for us as a threat hunter. Then we'll see some positive sides of the darknet, where you can actually explore the good part and good side of the darknet. Then the main part of the agenda of today's session, wherein we'll see how you can do threat hunting in this dark space. I have supported it with some case studies and best practices which you should follow when you start your journey in threat hunting and in darknet. And then there are some DIYs in case you feel more motivated and you want to start right now, then how you can. So these are some things. Please bear with me with the bad graphics or some kind of animated graphics during the presentation, because I like to keep it interesting, and considering it's not a live or interactive session, so I have to take help of these images. So let's start. So guys, as you see, there's been a lot of things has changed from 2010 and 2020. Not the virus, but yeah, from cyberspace a lot of things has changed. If you see, there's been a paradigm shift in this complete decade, wherein we see a lot of things moving to the technology. And when you see the new generations so much dependent on the technology, you can expect that these, considering that this is a good side, there is a bad side as well, and that bad side when we talk about is cyber. And in cyber, the growing number of attacks and the breaches happening around the globe is one of eye-catching event, and the reason why we cannot underlook this area. And this whole platform of cyber career, this conference provides you an opportunity to explore different areas which, where you can plan your career, or where you think you would be interested in. So I hope you get most out of this conference and this platform as well. So when we talk about 2010 and 2020, a lot of things has changed, just from like our daily lifestyle. As you see, more than living in the moment, we have been coming into the age wherein we are capturing the moment, and that leads to data. And as somebody has said, that data is a new oil. So data security becomes very very important, and that's where we, this whole cyberspace is inclined in. So let's go next. uh, I'm sure you would have seen this kind of animations a lot. So just to start on a right note, as you're aware that the next, and it's already happening, I'm not sure how much news you're following, but a lot of cyber attacks are happening related to this new coronavirus vaccines around the countries, to get to the latest developments, researches from one another. So the cyber attack is the new form of war which is there, which doesn't require your traditional way of fighting around, goofing around. So this is pretty much the reality we are living in, and you can practically see it happening now. So yeah, it's a bad news, but good for us. So what's threat hunting? Threat hunter or threat hunter is not a different kind of a person. It will be similar to what we do on a normal basis, but it is something which is more focused on getting some intelligence, getting some input from sources which can be useful for your daily practices. So to give you a proper definition of threat hunting, you can say that with traditional detection, we normally start with the technology, or we just focus on the technology. But with threat hunting, we take the human part, and then we try to get maximum of the technology. So it's basically, mm, not the machine learning, but learning from the machine, can be not. So basically the idea is that threat hunting, we try to go old school, wherein we try to retain the efforts or the intelligence of human, and try to play around the technology, and that gives, hoping that it gives us the best result, and trust me, it does. So a very common question which can come in your mind is, can you be a threat hunter? And yes, to answer that, you would need a different skill sets to explore this path, and this would require both offensive and defensive sides. From offensive, if you are one of these roles, wherein if you are a penetration tester, a security researcher, consultant, or a developer, reverse engineer, these kind of skill sets are required. But these offensives are not enough, you also need some defensive skill set, like SOC analysis, incidents handling, forensics. These are few job roles which would be really important if you want to explore your career in threat hunting, or if you want to see yourself as a threat hunter. There's a mixture of offensive and defensive skill sets, a right amount of mixture which is required to be a successful threat hunter. So if you are one of these roles, there are high chances that you can be a very successful and a very good threat hunter. And it's something which is very 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 demanding as well. So when we talk about the threats, what kind of threats you are looking on the internet, what you should notice, there's, you know, that there are a lot of information available on the internet. And internet is so huge that you sometimes feel lost, that what you actually should take or what you should not. So for that, I have listed on few of the threats which as in a cyberspace are very very important to notice. Threats like re- re- threats related to connections like slow or low connections, any suspicious websites you see in the network, if you see frequent login attempts which are failing, or maybe from a malicious or sources, or the IPs originating from somewhere which are not day-to-day basis. Like for example, you have logins from India normally, but suddenly you saw logins coming in from Germany or some other places around the world. So that's some indicators that yeah, something fishy is going. Then talking more technically, then some there are some hooks and some binaries which could be there in the softwares which you can find are not like monotonous, but yeah, it could be something new. Any new kind of privileges changes happening in the network which are not authorized or are not detected, those kind of, these are few types of threats which are very common, and you should observe it on day to day basis. And this there is specific areas where you can find these threats: the lost, the breached passwords or the credentials which are happening. Those are very important threats. Let's say if you are working for a company and the organization gets breached, then what kind of credentials, if your credentials are there, if your CEOs, CXOs teams credentials are there or not. So these all things becomes very handy when we talk about the threats and the scheme of threats. So we, our job as a threat hunter is to find all these intelligence and feed it into the solution or the technology which you are using. That could be your SIEM, your EDR, EPP, any kind of solutions which you are using. So you have to feed in this information, do some manual analysis and all. Then why do you need threat hunting when you have your SOC teams, when you have pen testers? Then what this threat hunting would could do to me? Then from my experience I can say that threat hunting helps to reduce the time of infection to detection. So that means if you are getting attacked by a new ransomware, your time to in fact would be very much reduced to detect that particular same ransomware from your maybe SIEM or EDR in place. So that's one of the reason that it gives you a window to act fast. And you as you know that if you act fast, will be definitely will give you a good results. And that you can see from the practical example of corona as well. The countries who acted fast, who put the lockdowns fast, are somewhere in a better place than the rest who thought initially and were more traditional in their approach. So this is a very uncommon example, but yeah, you can relate it to it, I'm sure. Then what it'll also help is it'll help to prevent the lateral movement of any suspicious files or malwares inside the network. It can also reduce in the number of breaches or the attacks your organizations are facing, and that would be very visible when you do this threat hunting for a prolonged period of time. Let's say a 6 to 12 months of a period, you can reduce your exposure to external threats. That means you can reduce your attack surface because you are well aware about different threats already pertaining to your organization. So that's a very good sign. Then you can reduce the time and money. So time and money is very important when talk about business, and threat hunting does saves a lot. So it gives you a good intelligence before planning your maturity. You can, if you have a better information, as we say that information gathering is a very important concept or very important step in hacking. So if you have more information, you can plan your processes and your technology better. So that's a very important part and advantage of being threat hunting. And definitely it reduces your frequencies of these malwares and ransomware attack because you have a good pre-knowledge of all these incidents pre already. So that's a pretty few advantages of threat hunting, but there are many. I cannot list all, but yeah, you can understand, I hope, that how threat hunting is very important. Now let's talk about the darknet. What is darknet? Darknet, as you might be aware of, there are three parts of the internet. One we call as surface or a clear net or clear web. Then there is a deep web, and then there is a very tiny component called a darknet. And as you would have heard that the internet or the clear net or the Google which you see, the internet is just 3% of the overall internet. The rest of the internet is what we call as deep web, which is like this, as you see from this iceberg image. It's the major part is the deep web, wherein your all intranet corporate networks are marked in, and inside those deep web there's a very tiny component called as dark web, which is used for very private communication, or has these kind of groups or forums wherein the hackers, or like you can say uh, whistleblowers, journalists, or activists, what we call it normally now, are there, and that's their space. So we'll be, as a threat hunter, that's the area which we have to explore, which is hidden from the internet and has a lot of juicy information, and which places to look, that's what we'll gonna explore. These are few examples which I'll show you, which you would have here in the stories, or that's something, that's the darknet which you might be familiar with, like looking for a hitman, maybe looking for some kind of drugs or some kind of banned medicines which are not there. So these kind of all the illegal stuffs which you see, so that are a common synonyms when we talk about the darknet, the Silk Road, Hansa market, and this assassination market. All these are common areas which you see when we talk about the darknet. But trust me, darknet is more than this negative side. There are two sides of the coin, and definitely we're gonna explore the bright side or the positive side of darknet today. Chances are weekend market, I'm not sure how many of you know this, but this is not a darknet market, this is a positive market in Thailand. Yeah, so when we talk about the darknet, why people are really interested in darknet, why it is making such a buzz, why hackers, activists all wants to go on the darknet, is because of the data. And we talk about data, what kind of data you expect in the darknet? You can expect your social security number, in which in case in Indian terms you can say it's a Aadhaar number or your PAN card numbers, with as dirt cheap as like $1. You can have, if you are a social media person, or you are a wannabe celebrity, or like this new race like TikTok, YouTube versus YouTube things, then you can have a fake Facebook account, YouTube account with certain number of friends, and you can pay for it. Then if you are pretty more serious, and you wanna hamper the availability, you can plan a DDoS services, you can buy some credit cards with some pre-loaded data card limits and all. So these are few datas which are there on the darknet. But the major part is something which is more serious, which is like renting a hacker, or renting it's kind of a freelancer on darknet, wherein you can rent a hacker to maybe create a target your competitors, or a particular consultants, or particular website, wherein, so it as you see that we talk about different skill sets required to hack someone, or like we, there are a lot of time when we talk about the vulnerabilities, the skill set of an attacker is a very important part. So in this case, with this darknet coming into the picture, when you have an opportunity to hire a hacker, it's a very good skill set in a price that is like a $12 an hour, you definitely needs to think about this. You cannot just think that the person who gonna attack your infra or your organization assets may be a noob, or may not be well versed. There are different ways of doing it. But yeah, these cases are more prevalent when it's a targeted attack, or a much more comprehensive complicated attacks, not a general case. But things which we see normally are the mobile malwares, or exploits, or zero days, which are commonly circulated in this darknet forums. and that's the important threats which we have to look for as a threat hunter. So when you talk about threat hunting in the darknet, you have to look for any kind of source codes, exploits, new ransomware, new malwares, any discussions happening in the darknet forums or any forums which involves your organization or something which is your area of interest to your organization can indirectly directly impact your organization. So those datas you have to see and find on the darknet, and to do that you need the sources, and that's what we'll be seeing. But before that, as I said, that we'll be exploring the other side of the coin, that is the positive side of the darknet, and which I personally like in the darknet is that darknet is a hub, or it's a home for whistleblowers and activists. So if you know about Edward Snowden and a lot of whistleblowers who came out of the closet and expressed what's going wrong, darknet is for them because it maintains the anonymity, it gives you that right of privacy which everybody should have. And that's why the darknet is becoming a lot of gaining a lot of popularity. Darknet, as I said, that is it's becoming a very tiny space of very creative minds. It is also being utilized as a platform to recruit new staff. And if you heard about Cicada 3301 puzzle, this is a very common game which organization use to hire hackers on darknet. Then it's very safe when we talk about journalism, and especially in the countries which are like dictate, which are like where censorship is very high. I won't name, but yeah. So there should be some place where you can freely express your thoughts, and that's where this darknet comes into picture, wherein you can freely express your thoughts, publish your findings, researches and all. And then when we talk about the data and the researches, there should be a place where you can find everything for free. So there is a lot of literature and researches available on the darknet which you can get for free. That's a positive side. To give you few, as I showed you the negative places on the darknet, let me show you few positive ones which you can explore in your free time. So as you see Facebook on your regular internet clearnet, there is a Facebook on darknet as well, which is mostly or for your data privacy, and a lot of familiar accounts you would see here which you do not want to reveal their identity but share information, and that's the place here. Then this is my personal favorite science hub, wherein you can find any research related, scientific research related information here. It's a very important and open source page for getting new researches. Then rent a hacker, we already discussed. You can start renting a hacker here. Is a 16-year-old businessman trying to get something and listing out basically his skill sets and kind of attacks he can perform and the prices and all. So yeah, there is a lot of pages like this. Then these are kind of a Dropbox, or you can say a secure Dropbox, anonymous Dropbox on the this darknet. Coming back to our important topic of threat hunting in darknet, how you can start. For starting, first you need to understand how you can access the darknet. To access the darknet, there are various ways or various channels in which these darknets are there, which we call as networks. As of now, there are 5 popular active darknet networks. One of the popular one is Tor, the onion routing, which you would have already, and the most popular one actually, the Tor. But the other ones which are very popular are ZeroNet and I2P, which are gaining a lot of popularity. And if you are aware about the recent NSA data leaks which was happened, and a lot of this Eternal Blue and a lot of tools were released. These all happened on the ZeroNet. So ZeroNet, I2P, these are getting a lot of popularities now because Tor is becoming a very mainstream crowd. So ZeroNet and I2P is gaining a lot of popularity now, considering the privacy. But in all, the doesn't matter which network you try to access. The important part is what are you looking for. The information you should be looking for should be focused, that you are looking for the IOCs, various TDPs, or maybe let's say malware samples or any discussions happening. So these can happen in any of these forums. Only thing is you need to know how to access them, and you need to find the right places and the right profiles to connect to. That's how you can explore this. For me personally, I very actively use Tor, ZeroNet, and I2P. Cindy and Freenet I had used, but not a frequent user. But yeah, when we work on engagements, we frequently visit all the networks and try to gather all possible information from any of the networks which are available. And there are few more which are on the clear net, not just on the darknet. So we try to get the sources from all the possible varies. So where threat exists, when we talk about the zero net, we know that now there are 5 markets. So where we go, we have identified the city. Now we have to identify the houses, or let's say the locality. To identify the locality, you have to find the places like black market, internet chats, chat rooms, and the forums or the pastry. These are the 3 major places wherein a lot of juicy information would be there. Black markets, wherein you can find the hackers or any kind of discussions happening, wherein you can find a lot of important information related to your organization, or maybe some new attacks or 0 days. There could be chat rooms wherein discussions related to a new attack, maybe DDoS, or maybe a new integrated attacks happening could be there. So that's a very important place to track information. And then the forums and the page beans, all these data leaks which you hear, the stories regarding the password dumps, data leaks which you hear, you can find a lot of information here. And maybe your organization few email IDs password you can end up seeing here. So these are the 3 major places which you should very frequently focus on and should review when you talk about the threats. And these all 3 places are in all the 5 networks. So all these 5 places, all the 5 networks will have these 3 forums. So you should look around and try to be participative in all these 3 places when you talk about these networks. Few of the places we already discussed, these are few ones. Then when we talk about the chats, so when you are on darknet, you cannot just WhatsApp a person. They will not be leaving their WhatsApp or Telegram number for the communication. There is a set protocols and specific lingo and softwares and the tools which are required and expected by you to use. If you are trying to reveal your identity while you are on darknet, then that's a big no. Nobody will be starting a conversation with you, because anonymity is one of the major focus on darknet. So to stay anonymous, tools like off the record messaging, this is very popular. And for that you can use plugins, this ones which are very very popular. So mostly I prefer these ones, Pingo. But if you, these are the most popular one, the IRC ones. But yeah, you, it's definitely your choice. But major idea is that you cannot use your traditional or daily ways of communication like mails or these. You have to rely on this IRC channels with the off the record messaging, which we also call OTR messaging, functionalities which doesn't keep any logs or maintains your anonymity. So this is how you communicate. And don't try to start the conversation with good morning, hi, hello. There's a different part of communication or a lingo which you need to follow which is very important when we discuss or talk with any actors. This is a new way of doing the threat hunting nowadays. If you see, you would be very popular with this game. I'm sure that it's you if you have not guessed it, now it's PUBG. And if you see, focus on this chat forum, you can see the communication happening between 2 actors about exchanging the exploits and all. This for just giving an idea that how the different channels of communication are being explored by hackers. So they want, by while maintaining the anonymity, they are exploring and being creative in exchanging the information and planning the attack. So as a defender, you have to be one step ahead, and you have to understand that the source of the attack cannot be a traditional one. It could be anything. So you have to learn from the technology. And definitely that's what threat hunting is. It's using a human or a human brain and trying to get maximum out of that technology. So that's what we have been trying to do so far. these are few forums. As I said, there are few forums on the darknet wherein a lot of informations are there, like this forum has hacked data of previous hacking attacks, then the card attacks. If you are a banking customer, then you can see if your bank's cards are being leaked here or not. A lot of informations are there, phishing related attacks, maybe somebody is planning a phishing attack if you are a very popular big MNCs. So these kind of informations, you have to look for these kind of pages and plan your threats, or plans get your intelligence from these feeds. When we talk about the case studies, let's say that there are a lot of reasons why people go and do threat hunting in darknet. It's not just for like the previous reasons which I mentioned, but major reasons why it is very important in organization and investing and very actively focusing. And a lot of solutions nowadays are coming which are providing threat intelligence from the darknet are, it's because that it gives a very, when we talk about threat intelligence, darknet gives you a very proactive one, because the discussions happening in the darknet could be something which has not come to a clear net. It's the backdoor discussions which are happening and which will come on ground maybe in later. So if you have the information about something which is happening underground, you would be better prepared. So that's the reason that it gives you a proactive level of intelligence. It helps you identify the attackers, their skill sets, from where they are, which can help you to defend your organization better. Definitely brand protection is very important. Nobody would like to invest or work with a organization which has been hacked multiple times or cannot, is consistently being targeted by the attacker. So definitely brand protection comes a very important part, and when you are a financial organization, it becomes even more important. Nobody would like to open a bank account in a bank which is getting attacked every Tuesday. So yeah, so the brand protection is very important. Then it helps you to prioritize the vulnerabilities. If you understand that a new kind of vulnerabilities is being discussed in the darknet, and not just darknet but any threat part, but if you get some intelligence, then you can plan the, prioritize the vulnerabilities in the patching, that this patch should be there. So maybe a vulnerability severity can be medium, but if you have a intelligence around it and you think that this can be exploited and could be more critical, then you can prioritize the medium vulnerability before a high or a critical one. So that's another very important part of the threat hunting. Then one of the reasons why people use threat darknet or threat hunting is to target the crown jewel employees or the VIP employees in an organization. If somebody has to get do a spear phishing or a targeted attack on an organization's individual, that's where they take these services. And then you can use, if your organization being breached previously somewhere, or your third party contractor has been breached and you are suspicious that your data might be there, which could be there on the darknet, then yeah, you should invest in threat hunting and should get some kind of intelligence when we talk about this domain. What are the best practices? So going into the threat hunting or darknet is not just like you open your laptop, install the Tor or zero net and just start the activities. As I discussed earlier, it's more about the anonymity, it's more about hiding your information and be able to share and get more. So there are few best practices which you have to maintain, like for example, you should have an alias, you should have a different identity. You cannot go with your own identity, and it's not at all advisable. You should always use a VPN and proxies, although Tor comes with its own proxies and servers, but still it's always advisable to use an additional one so that you cannot be traced back. Then use a lot of sources, don't just rely out on one discussions happening. There are a lot of fake discussions and fake profiles on the darknet, so you need to verify your intelligence from multiple sources, cannot just trust one sources. Then you should try to leverage your digital footprints as much as you can. You should create fake logs, you should create fake posts, try to make your profile more believable. It should not be like kind of a fake Facebook request you receive, that it's so obvious that you know that yeah, it's it's fake. So you should make sure invest some time to create fake tracks and logs to make it believable, because an attacker, if when you initiate a communication with anyone, don't assume that the other person is idiot or stupid. If you both are on the same platform, he will do a thorough research of your profile, and during that time your logs can be helpful. Then I always advise to, whenever you are trying to explore darknet or this dark market, try to use a virtual machine, so that if something goes south, you can anytime destroy or the end the virtual machine, which is a very portable solution to this problem. And whatever happens, don't leave any traces about you, your organization, from where you are doing or your objective. We be very clear about the OPSEC. Operational security is very important and should be very carefully observed when you are dealing with darknet. And I always advise to be very extra vigilant when you are doing this kind of activities, because one wrong move can lead to a lot of traces and disaster for you. Now the interesting part, the DIY. If you want to start right now, there are few things which you will need. This would be a bit, not just from the scrolling perspective. I'll not say just you have to open the darknet, go through some ports and all that. I'm sure that you would be aware of, and you'll get a lot of information already on the internet about that. What I'm gonna share is, if you are more on a organization perspective, if you want to build your threat intelligence, what things you need to look for, what kind of tools you should look for. Then from infrastructure perspective, you should focus on the tools or the threat intel sources from Puppet, Chef, Ansible, Docker. These are few very popular ones. For host and network related things, you should focus on Sysmon, NXLog. Bro is very popular one and my personal favorite. If you are into storage and analytics, big data analytics, something, you should focus on the solutions like Elastic, Kibana, Logstash, and ELK. So these are few popular tools or solutions which provide a good threat intel, and you can top up with your manual efforts and improve their performances. As we said, that it's not about the technology, it's about the humans innovations, or the humans how they can use these technologies that matters in threat hunting. So if you want to improve your threat hunting posture of your organization, you should start focusing on few areas, start understanding which are the right skill sets, which are the areas you require, identify, prioritize, and I think you should be okay. Then in the end, what I always say, and I believe as well, that blue is the new red. A lot of emphasis and focus has been going on the red team, purple team, and all. But we all should know that being part of the cybersecurity means you should consider yourself as someone who is uh, guardian, or who is guarding the data instead of attacking the data. Of course, offensive skills are required, but as we move more into a tech savvy world, we'll see that blue would be something, or defense would be something which will be more prioritized than the offense, and that's what you should believe in. So no matter how interesting or how exciting the red side looks, but should remember the blue will always be the evergreen and bright one. With that, I have come to the end of my presentation. For you, I'm again leaving my coordinates, because I'm aware that you might not be able to ask questions with me. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me in case of any doubts. If you have some questions around threat hunting, darknet, or maybe careers related to this, what kind of areas you can look for, feel free to reach out to me. It's been lovely sharing this knowledge with you, and I hope to do more of these sessions later. Thank you so much, and have a nice day ahead.